Okay, this is the fourth lecture for Chapter 3, and let's start off with how we affect the water cycle. Well, the first thing that we can do, and we have done, we'll take a look at some pictures in class, is we can withdraw large amounts of water from the ground, and of course that takes up space, and therefore we can have ground settling or compacting. Vegetation, if we clear off the vegetation which normally absorbs the water, then it's not going to be available to do it any longer, and therefore we could have runoff, larger amounts of runoff than we did previously. Pollution, by just disposing of whatever waste we have right in a waterway, then that's going to of course follow things up, and it's not going to be as available for us in the future. And climate change. One of the things, as far as if we put more water into the atmosphere through our whatever process that we're doing, that's going to include or create more climate change. Greenhouse gases. Water actually is a greenhouse gas, so it could contribute to that effect. Okay, let's switch on over to some of the cycles or the nutrient cycles. The first one here is obviously the carbon cycle, and you guys probably did this back in biology at some point or another. We have carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and eventually that's taken up by plants, which gets incorporated into them, and then just goes on through the food chain until eventually, through respiration or decomposition, it winds up back in the atmosphere. Still on this same topic here, a question for you is where do we find most of the carbon? So we may want to say it's in the atmosphere because we're putting it there, but no, the two, at least not right now I guess, the two largest places that we find carbon would be one in fossil fuels, and the second one is just in the Earth's crust. So all these various carbonates, one simple thing you'd say is calcium carbonate. A lot of it is either trapped in that rock or in fossil fuels. Next one, nitrogen cycle. We'll look at this a little bit more in class, but some of the terms you'll want to remember would, for example, be like denitrification, which is the process of returning nitrogen back to the atmosphere, which would be like atmospheric nitrogen. Another one could be, they call it mineralization here, but usually I think I've heard of this before as ammonification, turning ammonia into ammonium ions, which could be taken up by plants. Nitrification ultimately is trying to get over to nitrates, which again would be taken up by plants. But we'll talk more about that in class as far as this whole cycle. Interesting is how we used to grow plants once upon a time. We were only able to grow what the soil was able to provide. So we planted, and once upon a time people would mess things up and they couldn't grow crops anymore. Think the Dust Bowl back in the 1920s. They overused the land. But then some technology that existed previously by a guy named Fritz Haber over in Germany. He's got an interesting story we'll talk about in class. He found a way to fix nitrogen into ammonia. And we could use that as a fertilizer, ammonia in the ground, because there's also ammonia in the air, or excuse me, nitrogen in the air, but plants can't use it. So we found a way to create fertilizer, nitrogen. And that happened somewhere in the 50s and the 60s range. And you can see what has happened since then. We've been able to increase more and more and more. So therefore, we're not as reliant on the land to create food. We can actually create it independently. The problem is it requires a lot of fossil fuels in the production of this. So one more thing tied to fossil fuels. Phosphorus cycle. Just a couple things to mention on that. It's the only one of the nutrients that doesn't have a gaseous phase. So everything with phosphorus is going to be found in either an aqueous phase or a solid phase. And it's going to cycle through that process. But interestingly, as far as how you get algae blooms, you definitely need nitrogen for it. But sometimes something that's a limiting factor is phosphorus. So when you introduce phosphorus into a pond or a waterway, you can get algae blooms. So some of the stuff that happens over in Lake Erie is because of fertilizers and such. A lot of times there's phosphorus in those fertilizers. Sulfur cycle, we're not going to mention a whole lot about that, other than say that there's always been some amount of acid rain, and one of the things that causes that is sulfuric acid, which can, and always has, come from things like volcanoes. But the majority of the sulfur that we find in the atmosphere today is generally coming from industries, burning coal and putting it into the atmosphere, or one industry or another. You can also get, as I show here, from metallic sulfide deposits. It comes from mining. It's probably in here somewhere. I don't see it. But mining is another industry that can end up putting extra sulfur into the environment. All right, almost done here. Looking at ways we look at the environment. How do we survey the environment? One would simply be just looking at it, doing some direct observations. What do we see? These two here, this remote sensing and GIS, they kind of go together. The idea is you can do something simple with like airplane surveying, but then it gets a little more complicated when you start switching in satellites. And geographic imaging satellites, if I remember that correctly, would be GIS, geographic image satellites, or systems. I think it might be systems. And the last one is chambers, is simply having like an enclosed or closed-in observation. So you're doing this as far as a model of what might be in the actual environment to see if you can look at it on a much smaller scale. All right. Systems analysis. This is running that experiment. So we're looking at all these things within the ecosystem, typically probably with more of a chambers approach. You're actually running an experiment and making some variations and seeing what the effect of those variations is and trying to come to some conclusion based upon that. And that is the end of the lecture for Chapter 3.